Imagine descending through warm, blue Pacific water and watching an entire ship slowly appear beneath you. Not a modern wreck, not an artificial reef. A Japanese warship that has been sitting on the bottom since 1944. Its guns are still there. Its engine room is still there. Shells, machinery, dishes, aircraft parts, and in some places, human remains. This is Chuuk Lagoon, one of the largest concentrations of World War II shipwrecks on Earth. And for divers willing to enter these ships, the greatest danger may not be depth. It may be forgetting that a wreck is not simply a ship anymore. After 80 years underwater, it has become a maze. In February 1944, this peaceful lagoon in the Central Pacific was known as Chuuk to Japan. It was one of the most important military bases in the Pacific. Warships, transports, fuel ships, and aircraft were concentrated inside its protected waters. The base had such a formidable reputation that it was sometimes called the Gibraltar of the Pacific. Then, on February 17, 1944, American carrier aircraft arrived. Operation Hailstone had begun. Over roughly a day and a half, U.S. carrier aircraft flew more than 1,200 combat sorties against Chuuk. Bombs and torpedoes struck ships throughout the anchorage. Aircraft burned on the ground. Fuel installations exploded. Ships rolled over, broke apart, or sank where they were anchored. By the time the attack ended, dozens of Japanese vessels had been lost. Thousands of people had been killed, and an entire fleet had effectively been turned into an underwater graveyard. Today, many of those ships are still there. Divers call it the ghost fleet of Chuuk Lagoon. And from the surface, the danger can be deceptive. The water can be warm, visibility can be beautiful. Coral grows across gun mounts and railings. Fish move through cargo holds where sailors once worked. Some wrecks are accessible to recreational divers. Others drop well into technical diving depths, but depth is only part of the problem. Because the moment a diver enters one of these ships, the dive changes completely. You are no longer in open water. Steel is above you. Steel is beside you, and the direct path to the surface may be gone. A wreck becomes an overhead environment. In many ways, it begins to behave like a cave. Consider the Fujikawa Maru. It is one of Chuuk Lagoon's best-known wrecks. Divers can explore the exterior, cargo holds and machinery spaces. Aircraft parts remain inside. Coral covers sections of the ship, and to an experienced diver, it can look irresistible. But every meter you travel inside a wreck creates a new problem. You have to remember the route out. You have to monitor your breathing gas. You have to avoid sharp metal. You have to avoid disturbing sediment. And you have to remember that the ship you are swimming through has been underwater for more than 80 years. Steel weakens, bulkheads collapse, ceilings rust, wires hang loose. Passages that were once ordinary corridors can become traps. Then comes the silt. This is where a beautiful wreck dive can become terrifying in seconds. Many old ships contain extremely fine sediment, rust, decayed material, marine growth, mud. One careless fin kick can send that material into the water column. Visibility disappears, not gradually, sometimes almost instantly. A room that was perfectly visible seconds earlier can become black. Imagine being inside an engine room. You know the doorway is somewhere behind you, but now you cannot see it. Your flashlight illuminates nothing but suspended particles. You reach forward and touch steel. You turn. More steel. You turn again. Still steel. At that point, panic becomes more dangerous than the wreck itself. Divers Alert Network specifically warns that poor finning technique during wreck penetration can create silt-outs and dangerously low visibility. That is why proper wreck and technical training matters. A guideline can provide a physical route back toward the exit. Gas planning becomes critical, and the deeper the wreck, the smaller the margin for improvisation. Because if you are deep enough to accumulate decompression obligations, reaching open water does not necessarily mean you can immediately surface. You may still have required stops. Now imagine dealing with that after becoming lost inside a ship. Your breathing rate increases. Your gas disappears faster. Your buddy may also be stressed, and suddenly, the mathematics you planned before the dive begins changing. Some Chuuk wrecks add another layer of risk, depth. The San Francisco Maru is one of the famous deeper wrecks of the lagoon. Technical divers descend to explore a vessel carrying military equipment and vehicles. But as depth increases, so does gas consumption. Nitrogen narcosis can impair judgment, decompression requirements increase, and the amount of usable time inside the wreck becomes limited. That creates one of the most dangerous psychological pressures in diving. I came all this way. You traveled thousands of miles, paid for the trip, waited for the weather, finally reached a legendary wreck. And now your computer tells you it is time to turn around. That is where discipline matters. Because the wreck does not care how much the trip cost. The wreck does not care how badly you want the photograph. Your gas supply does not negotiate. But Chuuk Lagoon contains something even heavier than technical risk. These ships are war graves. People died inside them. Divers have encountered human remains. Personal objects still sit where they were left. Dinnerware, shoes, machinery, a ship's telegraph, ammunition, and in some wrecks, evidence of the people who never escaped. Dan has described human remains still visible inside at least one of the wrecks. That changes the psychological atmosphere completely. You are not exploring a theme park. You are swimming through the final location of someone's life, and that creates a responsibility. Artifacts throughout Chuuk are protected. They should be left where they are, not only because removing them can violate local law, but because this place deserves respect. And there is another unsettling reality. These wrecks are changing. Every year, salt water does not preserve steel forever. Supports weaken, bulkheads collapse, decks deform, material falls from ceilings. A route a diver used years ago may not be identical today. That is what makes old wreck penetration different from simply swimming through a structure. The environment is slowly destroying itself around you. A ship designed to survive storms, combat, and thousands of miles of ocean travel eventually becomes fragile enough that a diver must treat every surface with suspicion. That is why experienced wreck divers often talk about an error chain. Rarely does one single mistake kill someone. Instead, several small decisions begin stacking together. A diver goes slightly deeper than planned, then stays 5 minutes longer, then enters one more compartment, then visibility disappears, then the exit line is lost, then breathing accelerates, then the reserve gas disappears. Every individual decision may seem manageable. Together, they can become unrecoverable. Chuuk Lagoon is an almost perfect environment for understanding that chain, because it is beautiful enough to make divers want to keep going. Historic enough to make every doorway tempting, and dangerous enough that one unnecessary decision can become the first link in a very short chain. More than 80 years ago, these ships disappeared beneath the Pacific during one of the largest carrier strikes of World War II. Today, they remain almost frozen beneath the water, covered in coral, filled with marine life, and still carrying the scars of war. For divers, Chuuk Lagoon may be one of the most extraordinary places on Earth. But entering these wrecks means accepting something very simple. The deeper you go into history, the farther you may be swimming from the surface. And sometimes the most dangerous doorway underwater is the one that makes you think, I'll just go a little farther. Would you enter one of the wrecks of Chuuk Lagoon? Or would you stay outside and admire the ghost fleet from open water? Tell me in the comments. And if you enjoy true stories of underwater danger, survival, and the places humans were never meant to be trapped, Subscribe to Commander Puzzles.